All right, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the conversation. Today we're going to talk about why you need authenticity to find your voice. Now, we can tackle this subject from a lot of different angles, right? We could talk about whether it's easy for you to show up and be yourself in public or with someone else, or we could speak very specifically to right now at this time on our planet where a lot of people are being peer pressured into speaking up, right? If you don't speak up, I think I saw something say silence is violence. So it could be really scary, especially if you feel like you've labeled yourself as an introvert, or maybe you don't know how to be passionate about something, or you haven't connected it to something that's important enough for you that you know how to speak on it properly. I mean, there are so many things, right, that can get in the way of someone being able to feel safe expressing themselves. So welcome to the conversation, everybody. Good afternoon. I'm going to see if I can find some mellow music to put in the background while we have this really important conversation today, because there's a lot of pressure, and I want to see where you all fit inside of that space. And let's see if you feel like you do want to make a contribution, or you do want to step out of your shell, whether it's now or just beyond this moment. How do you do it? What are the things you might want to consider to do it, right? Hey, everybody, welcome. Okay, great. So let's see. I'm going to see if this is a cool thing to play right here. Of course, they got commercials on YouTube. Let me know if this music is okay. I know that sometimes it can be a bit ambient, and then when I listen back to it, and I'm like, dang, nobody told me it was too loud. What's up, voice? How are you? Speaking of finding your voice. Is that okay? That sound in the background? All right, so I wrote down some questions. And I didn't even look back at the questions again yet. I just wrote them down as they were coming to me while I was driving in the car, because I was like, I want to drive the conversation. So I'm just going to write these down. I'm going to dictate them. And then I'm going to ask everyone these questions and see what answers come to mind. Okay, so while I ask these questions, I want you to be thinking. And then if you will, please participate by writing your answers in the chat. Just turn down your megahertz to tune in. Bless up. Okay, welcome everybody. So please put your answers in the chat if you feel it. How many of you are afraid to speak up? Write that in the chat. How many are afraid that they don't know what to say if they speak up? How many of you are afraid with how to express? Hey everybody, welcome. How many of you have labeled yourself? So for example, I'm an introvert. I'm an extrovert. I learned about the one where you kind of mix the two, and it's called an ambivert. So that's like you may have more of one than the other. You may be more extrovert, but you still got some introvert in you. Or you may be more introvert, but you got a little extrovert in you. So introvert, extrovert, ambivert. How many of you are willing to use your creativity to speak? Hey everybody, welcome. How many of you are willing to use your creativity to speak? Okay. Beyond what anybody else thinks, do you allow yourself and what you think to matter? Do you allow yourself and what you think to matter? Good question. Okay. How many of you are willing to stretch in that uncomfortable space of expressing yourself a little more, whether it's each day or a little more maybe even if it's each week Or even if you take a bold step every month, how many of you are willing to challenge yourself in that area? Let's see what other things I wrote down. Welcome to the conversation, everybody. I wrote some questions down to kind of drive the conversation while I was driving today. And so we're answering those questions right now. And then once I get through all of the questions, I'm going to dive in and we're going to chop it up. Let's see. Ooh-wee. Okay, will you allow yourself to feel the this is good. Because you can do this with anything in your life. Will you allow the uneasiness that you feel to be there and still not run away from taking the challenge? Or will you run away from it? A lot of us, when we feel a state of severe uncomfortableness, or even just a little bit, some of us don't want to be uncomfortable at all. But especially when you feel really uneasy, a lot of us will either distract ourselves with something, right? You may numb yourself with alcohol or drugs or smoking or whatever those things are that we might do to take the edge off, right? You may overindulge in video games. You may overindulge in something to distract you, to pull the attention away from that which is making you feel uneasy. But if you don't run from what's making you feel uneasy, would you finally encounter why that feeling is coming up? So, for example, if it's a lot of anxiety you're feeling, instead of running from it, let the anxiety teach you why it's there. Like maybe it's covering up something that you haven't dealt with in a long time. Maybe, for example, in connection with today's topic, if you have this uneasiness with speaking, something could have happened to you in junior high where you got up to speak and somebody clowned you, or they laughed at you, or you didn't make the impact that you wanted to make, and it really made you feel self-conscious. And ever since then, you've kind of been carrying this thing around, but because it's kind of buried or repressed in your subconscious, you don't really think about it, but it's really dictating how you operate in life today, right? So if you allowed yourself to feel that uneasy feeling, do you think that by not running from it and going into your body and letting it just come in, would you learn why it's there? And are you willing to do that? Because then you would be facing it, right? Woo, we getting into some things. All right, let me see what other questions we got. Y'all, I know y'all are probably talking. Okay. Okay. Are you willing to push your own? What is it? What did I say? I dictated this, y'all. So rock with your girl. And this kind of speaks to the creativity thing. So I probably was a bit redundant as far as how you can express yourself and using your creativity, tapping into what makes you unique to express what you have to say. So sometimes you may have, people that you admire and they speak according to you really well. Like they're able to express themselves and you're like, God, I wish I could talk like that. I wish I could get my thoughts out, right? But for whatever reason, they don't come from you like that. But what if it's not meant for you to express like them? What if it's not meant for you to even have the kind of impact that they have? Would you be willing to explore what makes you unique and then speak through that? Question. See what other questions I put some stuff down here. And then just in general, do you know what you're passionate about in life? Are you clear on what's really important to you? And then when you figure that out, especially if you're feeling a ton of peer pressure to speak up, how does that thing that you're feeling pressure about measure up or connect with your values and what's important to you? Have you even thought about that? Like, where in whatever is happening is important to you? What would you like to see change? Because a lot of times you may feel pushed to speak on something that maybe you're not as passionate about, or maybe because it's not connected to what you would like to see change, or maybe because it's not connected to your value system, you're lost on what to say. Makes sense? It's not something that's speaking from the core of you, but you still want to make a contribution. So where are you passionate in life? What's really important to you? And how can you connect those values or those principles or those thoughts to what's happening and speak from that space? Ooh, did you catch it? All right, let's get in. Let's get in. I think these are the questions. Yeah, I pretty much said it. Okay, so let me see what you guys said, because there's a lot here. There's a lot here. And welcome to the conversation, everybody. I'm not sure that I love this particular... I'm not sure that I love that particular... what do you call it? Megahertz. So I'm changing it up. Let's see what we got. How's everybody doing today? Yeah, it's way more chill. All right. Hey, Dennis. Hey, Tiffany. Hey, Renata. Renata thought she was the only one answering for a second. Charles says, no, not really afraid to speak up. I'm asked a lot of questions because I'm known to be honest. Okay. Leon, hey, my pleasure. I'm willing to challenge myself. Good, Renata. Good. Because I think I'm going to put some kind of challenge out here by the time we finish this conversation. I don't know what it's going to be. But whoever wants to take me up on it, this is an opportunity to stretch and grow. Okay? Hey, lady, that's a good question about, do we allow our thoughts to matter? That is a huge question. Because that is something that can definitely shut people down. If you don't think you matter, why would you speak? Right? Like, if you don't think that what you have to say holds any weight or deserves to be considered, or, you know, if you've judged yourself out of feeling important enough, yeah, you probably won't speak. Charles says, I know what to say, just not how to put it into the right words to become constructive rather than letting my words be destructive. That's huge. That's huge. Dennis says, you saying something, coach? Bless up. Hey, T-Top, what up? All right. All right. All right. So we've really touched, just those questions, honestly, were pretty powerful in helping you to know what things you can consider when you're going to say something. What things to consider when you feel like you want to make a contribution, but maybe you have judged some aspect of yourself and it's shutting you down, or you're comparing your contribution to somebody else's and it's not even supposed to be that. It's not even intended to be that. As a matter of fact, one of the things that I'm realizing, especially in connection with what is happening today, is that we need the myriad, we need the layers of expression about exactly what's going on. Because what I say is not going to reach everybody. What somebody else says is not going to reach everybody. And so we're all at different points of evolution and development, self-development. So some of the words that I even use might turn somebody off, right? Some of the expressions that I use might not culturally match up and have the same gravity or impact. Some of the energy I might bring, it could be too forceful for someone, or maybe it's a little too docile and I need you to turn up. You feel me? Like, who knows what somebody's going to need in order for them to receive a message? I can't afford to concern myself with that. What I got to do is stay true to me. What does it mean to me? What is important to me? Where does my value system fit within this conversation? And what would I like to see change, if anything? And then once I figure out what that means to me, then I know I can stand in my name with whatever I say. I'm willing to stand behind it. And then let's say that you're afraid because somebody might come out and cyberbully you. Because that's a pandemic. Hello? Cyberbullying is a pandemic, man. Like, it could be somebody from any walk of life that gets to hop on the internet and tell you about yourself. Anybody. And it's like, but wait, who are you? And should your opinion count? Why does your opinion count again? Like, like, there's just so much stuff out there. So you may even be afraid to subject yourself, or what you might feel is subjecting yourself to somebody else's judgments. So I think it's important, especially when you feel like you want to, one, come out of your shell. Two, you want to make a contribution to whatever is in front of you, but you don't know how. To check in with what's important to you. How does whatever is in front of you measure up to your value system? Do you even know what your value system is? What do you value? What do you value in people? What kind of character traits? What things about life? And then can you speak from who you are, your unique space of being on the matter? And sometimes it's not speaking, which brings us back to the question about, are you willing to use your creativity to speak? Sometimes it's art. Sometimes it's music. Sometimes it's writing. Sometimes it's It's getting behind somebody else's somebody else who's expressive and being a contributor to their expression. There's more than one way that we can contribute. Speak without it being typical or expected of like anybody else. Let me see what you guys are saying. Dennis says, I just got off work, 10-hour shift, and this is on time. I have my thinking coach. Good. Welcome to the conversation, speaking to the heart and soul. Bless up, Brad. Can Bale says, if you are a bold and confident individual and are constantly being asked to tone down and be docile and demure, it can make you want to shut down or disengage. Speak. What do you do to stay true to yourself and motivated? So I think, thank you so much for that beautiful question. I think it just comes down to, if you feel like this is something that you would like to refine about yourself, then you make the adjustment. But if you feel like this is true to who you are, that's why I say check in with your innermost guidance, because sometimes we might be operating off reaction or knee jerk. You know what I mean? It's so make sure you're grounded. Gosh, there's so much to teach here. Woo! Let me see how I can put this simply. Just make sure that you are clear about what is important to you. And then, if you can, stay vigilant, stay alert to how it's landing on people around you. Is it making the impact that you want it to make? If it's not, tweak it. Make an adjustment. Becoming a better communicator is something that we all probably could do at some point. I'm always fine-tuning. And then there's times where I say, I accept exactly how that came out of my mouth. And if they don't like it, so be it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I gotta own myself sometimes. I can't keep, then you become a people pleaser. And that can make you feel quiet too, because you're too busy trying to figure out how that person or that situation is going to receive you. And by that time, you've watered down whatever you had to say in the first place. So sometimes you just got to trust yourself. So that's why I say check in with you first. Find out what's important to you. How does it line up with your value system? How do you feel after you've expressed yourself? Does it feel like I just owned how I feel, and I was true to me, and even though that didn't land the way that I would have hoped it would have landed, I still feel okay with that. Trust that. But if you know that you're like, dang, I wish I didn't pop off like that, you know, man, I wish I could have held my anger, you know, I got to get my knee-jerk reaction together. Tweak it. But I'd rather you be true to yourself, so long as it's not detrimental to yourself. You know what I mean? And if it is, tweak it. Hopefully you haven't caused so much harm or so much damage that you can't go back in there and fine tune. I hope that helps a little bit. A lot of bit. Oh, good, Renata. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I think it's a great topic because, especially in this climate, so many people are, one, afraid to speak up. Two, they're being peer pressured or they feel pressured to speak up. And then depending on the type of personality that you have, it could be very scary. And then you could be shaming yourself on the inside. You could be judging yourself on the inside for not stepping up in some way that you think other people feel you need to, or even that you're shaming yourself about that you feel you need to. So this is me trying to coming on here and giving you some things to think about that you can answer within yourself, so that if you do want to say something, if you do want to express yourself, you have a means to do it, and it doesn't have to come across as typically as other people. It can still be your own unique expression. It can still be a very valuable contribution. We need every layer right now to speak to everybody. No one person has the language for everybody. They just don't. Oh, bless up, Ken. I'm glad you like that. I'm glad you got some good value from it. Brad says, I can't wait until I rid myself of shyness and stage frightness so I tap into my true potential. Guess what, Brad? I'm glad you said that. That's okay. So many of us have layers of stuff to get through because of how we were conditioned coming up. Whether we got berated by parents, teachers, friends, society in general. I mean, there's so many ways that we could have encountered something that quieted us or made us feel a little less than or made us fearful of expression. That's why I say when something does come up, when you do start feeling fear, if you don't run from it, if you don't numb out and you sit with whatever is bubbling up to the surface, what might it tell you if you don't run from it? Maybe it could tell you where it came from. Where's the root of that fear coming from if you don't run from it? But a lot of us don't want to feel that uncomfortable. And so we'll immediately distract ourselves from that feeling. Immediately either let it off in a way that may not be healthy, you know what I mean? Immediately numb out with food or drugs or alcohol or whatever those things are, right? But if you sat with that uncomfortable feeling when it came up about anything in life, if you sat with it and you didn't run from it, you became present with it, you found out where it was in your body, be like, where is that coming from? It probably will tell you. And then you can work through that. And sometimes it's like, take a step. It doesn't have to be like some major bold step. It could be, you know what I'm saying? But at least you started. And then deal with that uncomfortable feeling. Where's it coming from? Where's it coming from? And then, so that's one thing, right? Also, what we were talking about with get very clear about your values. What's important to you in life? What are the philosophies and principles that drive your behavior that you feel are ideal? And then how does whatever is in front of you, whether it's a person, a situation, a subject matter, how does it measure up to those things that are important to you? And then speak from your very authentic space. If you're shy, beautiful. Because somebody needs to see that vulnerability. There's power in vulnerability. There's so much beauty in vulnerability. As long as you stand true to yourself, you can stand in your name in that. You can stand in your name in that. You may be scared, but speak through that. It's going to be so beautiful because it's true to you. And it's going to resonate with somebody else's truth, even if they don't necessarily match. It's like, but I can respect that he's speaking from his truth. And it's a beautiful, vulnerable stance. Work on owning that. But you got to do it. You got to face it. Hey, Willie, what up? Janelle says it's 7:20 here in the Philippines. I'm digging this positivity my morning. Love your music. I still have your album, but I especially love your heart and wisdom. Thank you, Janelle. I hope I'm saying your name right. Janelle, thank you. That was a beautiful message. Lady says this is one of them. I am in this space. Peace and blessings. Peace and blessings to you, Carrington. Good, lady. All right, Brad says expressing yourself is the key to getting a lot of stress and pressure off your shoulders. Man, you come on now. So do any of you have questions before I get out of here? If anybody just joined the conversation, definitely go back and listen, because if you're challenged with finding your voice, expressing yourself, there are some questions that I asked when we started this conversation that could be really good if you answer them to help you with getting that expression out of yourself. So, does anybody have any question of me before I get out of here? I'm waiting before I tap out. Hey, Jamil. It was good stuff, huh? Finding your voice is not necessarily easy. I remember, coming up in the Disney machine, we were media trained, and quite possibly by some of the best media training around. Very polished. That's the happiest place on earth. So I learned how to work within branding at a very early age. And so when I got online, and I had these messages inside of myself, right? Like, I got stuff to say, but how to get it out was interesting. Especially, starting out around, 08, 09, I would say because I wasn't even on that early. Maybe from like 09 to 11, you know, I was finding my voice and online. And I was so polished as a Disney kid that, you know, I might have a good message going, but if I flubbed a word, if I stumbled over a phrase, if I don't know, I'd throw the whole message away, okay, and start over, because that's how I was trained. That's how I was conditioned. I remember I was sitting in what we used to call the beach one day, and the people who watch the Mouse Club that are in here can relate to what the beach was. It was where the audience sat, and I had the word ask, okay, ask, and I kept saying ax. That's, you know, a lot of African Americans say it that way, and I kept saying ax, and they were like, ask, and I'm like, so I don't know how many takes I must have done that day until I got asked, and I've never not said it correctly since then. So you can imagine the level of conditioning that I've had in my life. And so coming into this space where it's like, oh, authenticity reigns supreme. Oh, so if I mess up, I'm just going to leave it here. Oh, if I encounter a verbal TKO, I just got to splat on my face and rock with it. But guess what? When I started to finally embrace this concept, I started to experience more freedom. And more of my personality started coming out. As you can see, I got a lot of stuff in me. And you guys haven't even seen the range of my personality. You know, there's this, you see pockets of it, you know, here online. So that there's a range of me. And the more freedom comes from allowing myself to mess up, comes from allowing myself to step out and say something that I'm a little scared to say, comes from allowing myself, you know, to operate in my fear and do it anyway. Like that. That's how I started to find my voice. I had to be willing to fail forward. I had to be willing to let some stuff slide. I had to be willing to flub over stuff. And then I noticed that more of my personality was coming out. I noticed that I had jokes, you know, online instead of just in person. Because, you know, so, and it just gave me more freedom. And I still don't think that I'm not challenged. I still get challenged. Like I'm stepping into a new frontier for myself even now as a speaker. The other day I had some butterflies, like some anxiousness, because I was getting ready to, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm reading what I just wrote between yesterday and this morning or not. And then I'm not used to reading something. I'm used to just speaking, because then it can come across more authentic. But I was like, I guess I'm going to read it. That was a step for me. And I still did it anyway. Did I feel uncomfortable when I finished? Yes. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. Did I have to sit in it? Yes. Did I feel uneasy and unsure? And yes. Is it okay? Yeah. Because I know that I'm becoming a greater communicator because I'm doing this kind of work. I'm stepping out on a limb. I'm pushing the envelope. Sometimes a little bit more than others. But what I do keep doing also is I keep checking back in with myself. What's important to you, bro? Where does this line up with your values, bro? And if I can make this stuff congruent, then I'm going to go ahead and take my chances. That could be for you too. All right, let me see what you're saying before I get out of here. Hey, Michael. Renata says, if they are like me, then no one will have that many questions. You gave me a lot to think about and go over. Good. Yes, MGM Studios. What you know about it? Oh, bless up, Tiffany. I'm glad it was good for you. Brad says it's 6:30 p.m. out here in Milwaukee. I see all these loving hearts. Sending love and joy to my favorite coach, as well as everybody in the chat. I'm sending love to you too. Can says, working within branding or within your personal branding. That is a good future topic to explore. Bless up. Thank you. Be willing to fail forward. Good one. Just got chills. Yes, conditioning, authenticity. Y'all better speak in here. Carrington says, how can I be blunt without coming off disrespectful and harsh? How would you feel on the other side of your words, Carrington? There's a lot of things that you could consider. But if you notice that your stuff is not landing well, or you're ruining relationships, or you're running into a lot of low vibrational encounters or negative energy, you probably want to shift because it doesn't feel good to you, right? Michael, what up? So good to see your name in here. You know, check in with yourself. I can't say that enough. Check in with your innermost guidance, everybody. You know. We know. We can feel it. We can feel it. You may not want to change, but it may be necessary to shift. Especially if you want to be more impactful. Especially if you don't want to be walking destruction because your words cut. Not to say you, Carrington, but just in general for everybody, because your words are like tearing things down as it goes by. We got to check in. Check in with how your stuff is landing. What kind of impact do you want to make? What kind of impression would you like to leave? How do you want your words to sit? How do you want them to taste? Sweet, bitter? We get to choose. Okay. All right, y'all. We had a great talk today. This was awesome. This was awesome. Finding your voice. Bless up. Thank you, Dennis. All right, darlings. Until next time. Bye.